world. So has the Bible been translated? I told you this is my first part of my lecture, 45 minutes. I'm right on the spot. Has the Bible been translated, retranslated so many times that we don't know what it originally said? Or here's another way to look at it. 1611, the King James Bible was produced. The New Testament was based on seven Greek manuscripts. The earliest of these was 6 centuries earlier than the King James, 11th century. Now, 403 years later, we have nearly 1,000 times as many manuscripts as they relied on. And we still have those 7, by the way. They weren't destroyed. And our earliest manuscripts go back nearly 1,000 times earlier. As time goes on, we're actually getting closer and closer to the original text, not farther and farther away. Okay, next question, and I'll deal with these last 3 fairly quickly. The quality or the nature of variants. What kinds of variants are there? 99% make virtually no difference at all. For example, the most common variant among the manuscripts is spelling variants. Somebody played a joke on me. Oh, here we go. That's better. But you knew what I meant, right? Even if I am from America. 70% of them are spelling variants. The most common textual variant we have among our manuscripts is called a movable nu. That's N at the end of the word when the next word starts with a vowel, like you say a book, an apple, or I think in Ogdensburg they say a book, a apple, don't they? But nevertheless, you know what they mean. The name for John in Greek is spelled Ioannes with 2 N's or Ioannes with 1 N. Every single time we see the name John in the New Testament, there are some manuscripts that have 2 N's, some that have 1 N. And then there's the Greek definite article, the word the. I wrote my master's thesis on when this word did not appear in the New Testament, and I wrote my doctoral dissertation on when it did appear. There's 20,000 of these little buggers in there. Those 2 works have been published, and I guarantee you they would cure the most hopeless insomniac. And yet, I'm still not sure exactly why it appears at times and why it doesn't. It appears with proper names. The Joseph and the Mary took the Jesus to Jerusalem. It's never translated that way. And we're not sure exactly of the significance, but we know it's not great because it doesn't affect anything. Then there's word order differences. In Greek, you can have words go in a number of different directions because it's a highly inflected language. So you can say, John loves Mary in Greek in any order. John loves Mary, John Mary loves, John, let's see, I guess Mary loves John. You can have it in that order, and still someone in Greek would say, this means John loves Mary because of the endings. They know what's the subject, what's the verb. You have the different spellings for the name John and Mary, the different, whether they have the article in front of them. And so I thought, about 1.5 years ago, how many ways are there to say John loves Mary in Greek? Professors have a lot of time on their hands. And so I decided to spend a day typing up all the ways you can say John loves Mary in Greek. So take your notes out, your notepads out. This is going to show up on the quiz. There's 8 ways you can say John loves Mary in Greek. Every single time it's translated John loves Mary. Oh, wait, there's another 8 ways. Wait, there's more. There's 96 ways to say John loves Mary in Greek. Every one of those is different. And yet every time it's translated John loves Mary. Now, with conjunctions that are often untranslated, you can also say it a number of ways. Are you taking notes? 384 ways to say John loves Mary in Greek. That took me 8 hours to put together. Hope you appreciate it. But that's not all. There's word orders that swell the numbers to over 500. I just decided, man, that's just enough. I think I'm illustrating the point pretty well. You use a different verb for loves that mushrooms the numbers to nearly 1,200. Now, listen to what Bart Ehrman says and put that illustration in this context. We could go on nearly forever talking about specific places in which the text of the New Testament came to be changed, either accidentally or intentionally. The examples are not just in the hundreds, but in the thousands. He's absolutely right. We could go on nearly forever talking about these thousands and thousands and thousands of textual variants, like the 384 different ways to say John loves Mary. Every one of those is a textual variant. If we can say John loves Mary over 1,000 times in Greek without substantially changing the meaning, the number of textual variants for the New Testament is meaningless. 400,000, I'm really surprised that's it, because the numbers could be an infinite number. I would have expected something like 10 million or so with the number of manuscripts we have. What counts is the nature of the variants. And so let me bring us to the smallest group of variants that are both meaningful and viable. That is, these are the variants that have a good chance of being authentic, and they can change the meaning to some degree. It's less than 1% of all of our textual variants fit this category. These are the only ones that textual critics ever debate. In fact, it's less than 1/4 of 1%. I'm going to give you real quickly two examples. Mark 9:29. Here, after Jesus' disciples had tried to cast out demons, there were particularly pesky demons, and they couldn't get exorcised. And so they came back to Jesus and said, couldn't do the job. And he says to them, this kind can only be cast out by prayer, or by prayer and fasting. Well, which one did he say? The earliest manuscripts just say prayer. Later manuscripts have fasting. Some of you who cast out demons on a regular basis, probably this is a good variant to study. And most scholars would say, you know, what Jesus said here is this kind can only be cast out by prayer, period. And as you can see just by looking at me, I agree with the shorter reading. But nevertheless, all right, let's get past the convicting stuff. Revelation 13:18. This is the only other variant. I'm not going to talk about 400,000 textual variants with you, but here we have, let the one who has insight calculate the beast's number, for it is the number of a man, and his number is 666. Everybody knows the Antichrist number is 666. You go on the streets of Ottawa, people, yeah, I know that. Well, not so fast. In 1844, a German scholar studying the Bibliothèque Nationale discovered a manuscript that said 616. And that manuscript happens to be one of our two most important New Testament manuscripts today for Revelation. It's from the 5th century, but it was a lone wolf. 1999 at Oxford University, they published 17 papyri, and one of them was of Revelation. It's spread out over 9 chapters, 26 little postage stamp sizes. And in that manuscript at Revelation 13:18, it has the number of the beast as 616. I've had the privilege of looking at both of those manuscripts in the flesh. And I'd say even today, most scholars who know about this, they'd say, you know, I think 666, that's the number of the beast. 616, that's the neighbor of the beast. He lives a few doors down. But it could be the number of the beast. I don't know if 616 is the number of the beast. It may be that it is, it may be that it isn't. Here's a place I don't know what the Word of God says in the original, what the New Testament says in the original. But I can tell you this, I know of no Bible college, no theological seminary, no theological institute, no denomination, no church that puts in its doctrinal statement, we believe in the virgin birth of Christ, we believe in the deity of Christ, we believe in the resurrection of Christ, and we believe the number of the beast is 666. It may be meaningful, it may be important, but it's not that important. And this is how it rises. It doesn't get closer to the theological beliefs that are crucial. What theological beliefs depend on textually suspect passages? Well, in Dan Brown's Da Vinci Code, we had Sir Lee Teabing say, until that moment in history, he's talking about the Council of Nicaea in AD 325, Jesus was viewed by his followers as a mortal prophet, a great and powerful man, but a man nonetheless. Al-Azami was making the same claim. The Orthodox Church changed the text to turn Jesus into deity. Well, that council, which was sort of presided by Constantine, he opened it and came to close the ceremonies. This is what Teabing is declaring, that the emperor himself is the one who changed the text to make Jesus become God. Remember how I told you an ounce of evidence is worth a pound of presumption? But here's another ounce of evidence, and we're just about finished. P66, another papyrus, dated about AD 175. It has most of John's Gospel in it. Here's the first leaf of it. This is about 150 years earlier than the Council of Nicaea met. And this is the front page, where it says the Gospel according to John. Then it starts with John 1:1. Read along with me, if you would, just that first verse. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It's what every manuscript says in every language. There's no essential differences at John 1:1 in any manuscript in any language. It's remarkable. Now, unless Constantine was about 175 years old, I don't think he could have invented the deity of Christ. So every single manuscript of John's Gospel, no matter the date or language, says virtually the same thing in John 1:1. Jesus is unequivocally called God. And the same can be said for the major passages that affirm his deity, his virgin birth, his sinlessness, his death on a cross, his bodily resurrection, and his second coming. In other words, no essential doctrines are jeopardized by any of these textual variants. I want to close by quoting from Bart Ehrman and agreeing with him. In the appendix to his book, Misquoting Jesus, he was asked, "Why do you believe these core tenets of Christian orthodoxy to be in jeopardy based on the scribal errors you discovered in the biblical manuscripts?" Notice they said these core tenets of Christian orthodoxy, like the deity of Christ. Here's what he said. Essential Christian beliefs are not affected by textual variants in the manuscript tradition of the New Testament. The 3 times I've debated him, I've put this up there at the end of the debate.